Welcome to Seller Sessions. I am your host today, Sharon Evan, and this is a pre-recording. We are not currently live because my guest today could not make it to the live, so we are recording in advance. But if you're watching this live, you're welcome to ask your questions below, and I will tag the guest. Today's guest is Talor. Hello, how are you? I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you for coming on, and I'm excited for today's session with you.
Hi, Sharon. It's great being here. It's been quite a while since I know you, and I was like waiting to be here on this podcast with you. So I'm very honored to be here.
Yeah, you're one of the few people that I've actually met. We actually met face to face. In the beginning of COVID, you were running. There was a tiny little get together of sellers, and you were speaking. I can't remember exactly what you were speaking about at the time, but you held a presentation, and which was a really good one. And I remember I came up to you after, and I was like, "Hey, I'd love to get to know you for my own brands and my own products." And I spoke to you a little about it. So we're going to be speaking today about how to get your products outside of Amazon, and there's many different options for that. So just for a recap, last week I had a guest where we spoke about how to get your products off of Amazon onto Walmart.com. We're not going to be speaking about other .com websites. We're mostly speaking about how to either get into physical stores, so wholesale, retailers, specialty stores. And you also are going to be speaking about how to get your products into subscription boxes.
Right.
And if we have time, we may talk about some other stuff. So before we get started, can you please introduce yourself for anyone here who doesn't know you?
Definitely. So, my name back here in Israel, they call me Talor, but in the States, I'm usually called by Talor, which is easier to pronounce. So my name is Talor. Been to business, like in retail business, since 18 years ago, something like that, 17, 18. Started my journey in Asia. I used to live in Japan a couple of years and then in China. I was producing in China for like around 7 years, and I was living there and producing for companies like Walmart, Costco, Target. I also did an interesting line of products for Beyonce, which was denim line, Darian jeans, if anyone knows. She used to be very good in the market. Used to be very good in the market back in those days, but not anymore, as far as I know. And then those like 7 years were like kind of my both business university and retail university. I learned a lot about retail, and it was quite hard and challenging to work with them remotely, especially from China when the time gap is so big. But since 2010, I've been doing a bunch of different private labels from different categories, selling them mainly offline. Until 2017, actually only offline, only stores. That's all I knew. I've seen they were starting online with their products back in those days. They started with Alibaba and then eBay, and then obviously Amazon came to our life. And I was like, I was looking from the side, and I do have like a strong tendency for stuff like, internet stuff and everything, but I figured that, my thing is like retail. That's where my strength is. That's, where I know people, and I know that's where all my connections are. So I'm going to stay there. And that's what I did. So yeah, I kept going on that direction. Since 2017, I kind of ended my last line of products. I did have afterwards more, but the majority of my lines were stopped at 2017. They were not relevant to the market anymore. And then I was like, okay, what's going to be next? And then I was happily approached by a lot of Amazon sellers through friends and through people, in groups and everything, and asking me like, hey, like we're selling on Amazon, we are producing in China, we know the whole, supply chain, how to brand everything, how to do packaging, all this stuff. And we have inventory, we have everything it takes, but we're selling only on Amazon. And we would really like to sell on other places, because they understood kind of that Amazon is not the only, market on earth. And it's only, today it's something around 10 to 11% out of the retail market at the States. I'm not talking about the online retail, but the retail in general. Okay, if you look at the online, obviously the percentages are higher. So I started to guide, one Amazon seller and another one and so forth. And then I realized that, I could go on with that, and it's fun for me. It was very, I had a very good time doing it. And it was even easy because it wasn't like taking someone that doesn't know anything and just guide them through all the process. They knew what I talk when I talk about, transportation, 40 feet, 20 feet, LCL, all those terms, like catalog and so forth, rendering. But then they still needed like, a whole bunch of terms in the language and tricks and tips, obviously, to be able to walk through, the retail market. Because there's like, it's the same as in Amazon. If I wanted to sell on Amazon tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to do so if I wouldn't know the language. Now, the first thing you would teach me, I guess, is PPC, right? I don't know what is PPC. I mean, I know it's pay per click, but that's all I know. Like, it's nothing, right? So I have to know practically how to do so. So that's what I kind of taught these different vendors. But then I understood that, as long as I, coach about something, like I talk the talk, I need to walk the walk as well. So I got back to a very good old friend of mine in LA, which is a partner of mine as well. And we started selling products as well. Because I understood, like, number one, in terms of, income and in terms of business, I want to go back to that place, selling products. And number two, if I coach people and I show them and guide them, and I don't do it myself, then I'm telling them about history. Now, I'm not a teacher, and they are not students, right? They're not people. They're like, they want to do business. So I have to be in the market and to know what's happening in order to take them to the right places. So that's what I was been doing since 2017 until today. That was not so short brief about me.
No, it's amazing. I learned some stuff that I didn't know about you. What, just like out of curiosity, what brought you to Japan so long ago? Like from Israel to Japan? Because I live in Israel as well, obviously. But how did you end up in Japan?
Well, I didn't plan to go to Japan. When I went and flew, I flew first of all to India because I had a dream to cross, the whole country with a motorbike, which I did. And in the end of it, everything, yeah, it was cool. It was nice. It was half year of, a journey, real journey, like sleeping outside, knowing the culture and everything. And then I realized, like, I'm a little bit fed up with this feeling of, it feels like you're living in 17th century or something like that, or even or even before that. And then a friend came to me because I flew to Thailand, to get some fresh air and, something civilized and more, progressive. And a friend of mine told me, hey, I'm going to Japan and there's like a lot of opportunities there. You want to join me? I didn't even think, I had my ticket back to Israel and I thought, like, all right, let's move it. Let's go to Japan. Like, as simple as that. And yeah, I flew to Japan and I opened with that guy quite nice amount of different stores, like physical stores in Japan. It took some time, but we did it. And yeah, I was like, spontaneous, like nothing planned in terms of Japan. But from that, step, I kind of understood that I'm not going to go, in let's call it normal journey or normal roads. I'm going to go with something different in my life. And that's what I did. So I ended up living outside of my country for something like, I don't know, 12, 13 years, something like that, which was, fascinating because culture and different stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. I didn't know that. So we're going to be speaking about how to get your products outside of Amazon. Okay. Right. Now, we speak a lot on this podcast, so does Danny as well. We speak a lot about branding and how important branding is. So we're not really going to go down that route. But when I first met you, I always knew that there is this thing called retail, brick and mortar stores. But you actually taught me in a 15-minute conversation outside the little mini summit that we were in, about specialty stores. I didn't know what the word specialty stores meant. And ever since I've met you, I've used that word many times because I learned about that from you. So for many other people that don't know the difference, can you give us a brief explanation about what the difference of getting into big retail stores like Target, Walmart, whatever it may be, what the difference is between that and between specialty stores. And then the next question will be the benefits of both.
You got it. Yeah, definitely. So first of all, specialty store, you need to understand that in the States, some of the people call it moms and pop stores. Why they call it mom and pop stores? Because like it's a mom or a pop that just opened a store, you know, in the hood or across the street or whatever it is, standalone store, one store that, you know, they're selling whatever they sell, gifts, toys, electric items, whatever it is. Not a chain store, not a big company, just, you know, family business. Some of the specialty stores, what we call moms and pop stores, other people, they just grew during the years. So they have like, you know, 3, 4, 5, maximum, I don't know, 8, 10 different stores. But again, they are still like a family run company. They're a small organization. They're not, you know, something like Costco, Walmart or whatever. Obviously, Walmart and Costco and all these companies started the same way, but they had a vision to grow, which you won't say that on the specialty stores. And then if you look at the retailers, well, normally, let's say a very small retailer, like for instance, Bloomingdale, was a company, a retailer belongs to Macy's actually. They have 60 something different stores and they are very small. Think about 60 stores. Think about Macy's, which are not big and have 820 or 30 stores. Think about TJ Maxx, 1,240 stores. Think about CVS, the biggest pharmacy chain store retailer in the States. They have approximately 9,980 stores. So with that said, obviously the opportunity of selling in retail is bigger when it comes to chain store, but the workload is bigger as well. That's number one. Number two, when you sell to moms and pop store, it's very easy to sell them from a few reasons. First of all, they are very easygoing in terms of payments. Like you would expect them, and they would expect you to charge them upfront, like due before delivery. So in that case, if you send them samples, for instance, and you locate that stores and you send them samples after you present it and everything, and then they say, all right, you know what, we want to order like 20 pieces of that, 50 pieces of that, 10 pieces, not big orders, right? Like somewhere between $500 to $5,000. That's a typical order for a specialty store. And the thing with them is that they are very loyal. Not only they pay up front, but they're very loyal because once they work with you and it's comfortable for them and it's selling good, then they would come back and say, here's another order and another order and another. And all you have to do in the next orders is really like, fulfill it from the warehouse, pick up the payment, send them an invoice. That's it. As easy as that. While if you look at retailers, the payment terms are not due before shipment at all. Most of them are paying net plus something. It could be net 10, net 20, and even net 60 days. By the way, speaking of which, people do not really know that, most of the people, but it's always negotiable, even with big companies like whatever, Walmart, Williams-Sonoma, Pottery Barn, Urban Outfitter. I found myself negotiating payment terms with all of them and succeeded. Well, not always, but sometimes they say 60 days and I was like, hey guys, 60 days is quite much at the point we are at with our company, blah, blah, blah. And then ended up with like 20, 30 days. Sometimes they offer you themselves to get money faster for an extra discount, like whatever, 1%, 2%, 3%, nothing big. Which would, if you look at the cash flow of your company, sometimes you would say, you know what, I prefer having it like, in 3-4 weeks rather than in 6-8 weeks, but having it, with a small discount because it's worth it for me and I need the cash flow. I want to get it back to China and produce and I need whatever. So those are, the main differences between moms and pop stores and between the retailers.
Okay, you spoke about what would have been one of my next questions, a little bit about payment, which is really important because most of the people, like almost 100% of the people that are listening to us, they sell on Amazon. So all they really know is Amazon. And when you sell on Amazon I've been following you for a long time and listening to you for a long time. And so I know this through you, not through myself, because I have not gotten physically into stores yet. When you sell to, let's just say a large, Walmart, whatever it may be, you can suddenly get a really, really large order. And right. Sometimes it can be a large order for the same amount that you would sell in a year on Amazon. So on a cash flow level and things like that, it can be it can
Challenge.
be, well, it can also be, you not only may not have the money for it, and then they pay you, 90 or 60 days later. But so a few questions. The first one is payment terms. When it comes to the big retailers and it comes to the specialty stores, so we understood with specialty stores, they can pay you sometimes even up front and it's easier. With the big retailers, when it comes to payment, how does it usually work? That's A. And then B, with pricing, how does it work with the pricing of your product? Because if you sell your product, let's just say you buy your product for $5 and you sell it for $30 on Amazon, how much do you then sell the product for to someone like a big retailer, for example?
Right. So those are amazing questions. I can see how, how much of a very good business person you are. I knew that all the time because I'm following you the same way that you're following me. And then I'm always surprised. We'll talk about that part as well. But after you do the whole process, they say, okay, send us samples. Let's see the product. Then they start to discuss with you about the sample. Can you do it a little bit deep? So usually what they do is take like, whatever, 50 pieces, 300 pieces, 1,000 pieces is a maximum for test order. A test order is good for both sides. And why is that? Number one, it's good for both of you to see how is it in terms of working with each other. Because you as a vendor, especially a new vendor for retail, you need to learn. And if you don't have someone, to teach you all the stuff, or just in case you don't have my phone number, just kidding. Then you have to learn, on the go while you're doing it, which is fine. It's not that easy, but it's fine. But then you learn it. It's okay to make a mistake with 100, 200 pieces, but it's not okay when it's 300,000 pieces, right? It's not the same thing. So you would rather, what we call it back in here, shave yourself on them, right? You get like you're shaving yourself on that test order. And that's in terms of inventory. Most cases that if you're like small to medium seller on Amazon, you would have that inventory, preferably in 3PL external warehouse, but you would have that inventory on the ground. So you would not need to go back to China and produce for them and all this huge process just for a few cartons, right? So if you have them on the floor, sometimes they would say, you know what, let's get it to like whatever, 20 different branches of TJ Maxx, for instance. And we will try it on the online as well. So they calculate and they come back and say, you know what, give us 400 pieces just for the beginning. And you can say, hey, I have only 260, I just ran out of inventory, another container is coming and so forth. They're flexible. Not only TJ, but in general, they're flexible. They do want it to move once they decide. So they say, all right, let's do the two. Such if you can, you would use the represent for the big, which is the main. So yeah, I mean, usually when you do a test order, it means that you're going to have the big order because they know what they're doing, they know what they're ordering, they're doing a very quick scanning of what's going to work or not in their stores. And then once you get the big order, you get it like in terms of cut to order. Now, cut to order means that you're going to have an order coming in like now in June, when you fulfill it somewhere around September, October, or even December, right? That's what it means. Not December, because for Christmas, they always take it on November. But in general, they would give you 3-4 months at least to execute the order, because they do understand that you need to go back to your manufacturer and you have to produce it and you have to wait on the line and you have to revise it and QC and all this, lovely process that we all going through. And so, yeah, they give you like enough time to do so. And then the next question would be, all right, they gave me like, whatever, 50,000 pieces, and a piece in China cost me $10 to produce. So I'm having like $500,000 here that I don't have in my bank right now. So what am I doing? I'm just telling them, no, it's not going to happen, right? I'm not giving up this order, right? Because they are paying me, just for example, they're paying me 17 a piece. So I'm having like 7 by 50,000. It's like $350,000 here that I'm not going to miss. So obviously the first option that people would think about is going to the bank and say, hey guys, I have a PO from Macy's or from whomever, I want you to finance that. And most cases the bank will finance it, but then the terms with them would be horrible, which is a problem. So what normally people are doing, like big importers or even medium importers or whatever companies that are producing for retail and so forth, what they do is they go to companies that are a factor. Now, a factor is a very important term in retail. Take an example, if you can Google Rosenthal and Rosenthal, which is one of the biggest well-known factors in the States. They are actually based in New York. I used to work with them back at the time, and the thing with them is that they know, like other factors, they know pretty well how it works in terms of retailers, and they know that you as a vendor, for whatever size, you would need cash flow, not only to bring the goods, but also to wait with the goods until you get paid. And not only that, they understand that you're going to pay probably either 30, 70 to your supplier in China, or if you're very good with them, whatever, 50 upfront, and then another 50% 2 weeks after it's, dispatched from China. And they understand that process means that their understanding for that means that they would finance it for you for the whole process, knowing that it's going to take like whatever, 3, 4, 5 months. And their percentage of financing it makes sense. Usually they would take somewhere between 1.5 to 3% of the deal, which is a percentage that, as far as I know, you can't get in the bank. I mean, the bank would they would shock you and they would see an opportunity, to make money out of your money and so of your business and everything, which is not the case with factor. So to sum it up, a factor is a very important thing in the market. If you don't have someone to invest and finance the whole productions and everything and the waiting time for you, then a factor is a very, very good solution. I used it myself. A bunch of my friends are using it as well. This is like a very good thing to use, and in terms of financing everything. Now, back to your question about pricing. And hold me back if you have more questions coming in between.
I have a lot in my head, but I want you to finish and then I'll ask.
I could have seen that.
Yeah, I'm thinking as you're talking. Oh, what about this? What about that?
Brilliant. So yeah, in terms of pricing, well, normally what pricing method looks like in the retail is retail price, MSRP. For instance, you're selling your product for whatever, $100 on Amazon, right? And then a wholesale price would normally be half of that price, like $50. That's a benchmark. It's only a benchmark. Now, suppose that you're producing this product and your LDP, landed price, what you guys call COG, right? In Amazon, COG, yeah. Right. So the LDP, what I call it, LDP, is somewhere next to 2025, then you're still good. As long as you can double and they double, it's like, theoretically heaven. But that's not really the case all the time. Let's take some examples. If you're going to work with a company like Best Buy, so Best Buy would have tons of different percentage eating your profitability because they are taking percentage upfront in terms of what happens if you have damaged goods. What happens if you pay, if they pay for the freight and the freight would be more than what they expect, and so on. And so I don't want to dig, dig inside that topic, but in general, it's a good example to talk about Best Buy, because at the end of the day, you would see not 50% from the MSRP in your pocket, but you would see somewhere around 35 to 40%. All right, but that's with Best Buy. It differs from and varies from retailer to retailer. Now, if you look at a normal retailer like, let's say, Poultry Barn, which is a very famous retailer in the States, Poultry Barn literally pay half. And Bed Bath & Beyond the same, by the way. Like, you sell it for 100, we buy it for 50. That's it. End of story. Now you can make your own calculation. If a product doesn't cost you 25, then you say, oh, wait a second, it cost me $40 LDP. So I'm having only $10 here. It's not what I thought. But then again, if the volume that they're offering you is in tens of thousands, then it's worth it, right? Even if you would made a $5 profit, right? Not to mention that there is MAP, like minimum advertising policy, which is something that you usually, even if you don't come up with, they would ask you about your MAP, like knowing what is the minimum price that we can sell it. Because if they sell it for $100 like Amazon, no problem. But what happens if they sell it for $80 off season because, you know, they have like whatever, 1,000 pieces left from your batch and I want to get rid of it and go to the next thing. They already did the profit for your goods. So then then comes in the map, because if they sell it for 80, it depends on what channel, on how they sell it. Because if they sell it for 80 and Amazon get to know about it, then you have troubles, right, with Amazon.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how to solve that problem without even having MAP. There's a great solution for that. But in general, like if you go by the book, yeah, you would have a problem with Amazon. So then you would have, okay, I have an MAP, guys. You cannot sell it for less than whatever, 95, right? $100, 95, that's fine. Just let me know before that so I can adjust my numbers on Amazon so I don't have an issue with them. But what if they want to sell it for 80, for 70, for 60? I don't know. They just want to get rid of it because whatever. They sold the majority and they have 5% left, right? There's a solution. We're going to talk about it. Back to the pricing thing. You have to keep in mind that it really depends where you're sending your product. Because if you look at clubs, what we call off-price, like Rose Stores, TJ Maxx, Burlington, Tuesday Morning, Home Goods, all these, you know, Costco, not exactly on the term, but yeah. So if you go to a company like that, they would expect to pay less. Give you an example. I had a call 2 weeks ago with TJ team, and I haven't been working with TJ Maxx for like, I don't know, more than 2 years, I think. And they liked one of the products that I sent them. They want to go for it and everything. And then I was like, guys, what's happening with your pricing right now? Because I know how it works with them. Usually what they would do is, for instance, if you're selling MSRP $30 and you're going to sell them for 15, they would ask you as a TJ, because they're not normal, they would ask you that they want to sell it for 25 and buy it for 11 from you. Not 15.30, but 11.25. Now, what she said to me, she said, listen, we're going to make it easy for you. What we decided is that on our online, offline, all channels together, we are doing the fulfillment. You're doing zero, nothing. We are even picking it up from your warehouse. You don't even touch a paper related with logistic part. Nothing, zero. You get a bulk order and we do the rest. Even if it's selling both on the online and the offline channels for us, we would still take it as a wholesale order from you. You don't drop ship to anything. Like it's not Walmart or Amazon, or because if you look at the .com, I know we don't talk about it today, but if you look at the .com, the big 10, like Macy's.com is number 9, and you have Target number 6, I think, and so forth. So these are like, you know, the online of the offline, the retailers online. Most of them would do drop ship. So TJ said, no, we don't want to do drop ship. Why? Because we want a very low price from you, and I'll explain about the price. But for that, we need to give you something. What they give you easy life. Like a vendor relationship for them is very important. But she was asking to have half of the wholesale price for them, meaning half of half. So if we go back to the example of $100 and $50 would be normal wholesale price, they would expect to buy it in 25. So I said, hey, Jennifer, this is like, you know, we can do that. I can do that because my product that I'm dealing with them is quite cheap. So I said, I can do that, but let's say that, you know, it's going to kill my business. So she said, number one, it's not going to kill your business. If you're thinking about Amazon, don't think about Amazon. I said, why? She said, we have a special algorithm developed by us that is, what is it doing? At the end of the day, I don't know how, is that Amazon scanner cannot see your pricing on their platform. However you turn it, they cannot see it. They did it because they know that, you know, a majority of Amazon sellers are looking for more channels, as we're quite aware of, and TJ Maxx would be one of them. So that's why they developed that algorithm, which is amazing. It's funny, I recorded that Zoom call and I don't know where's the recording. I asked her permission to record it. I don't know where's the, you know, usually you would do like a local file recording, right? And I did on the cloud, so I don't know where's the cloud. I mean, they're probably in the sky. Anyway.
I'll show you later. I'll show you later how to find it because I record Zoom calls all the time. So
all right, but it was a Zoom call from her side. That's why I don't know where's the something very strange. Anyway, yeah. Doesn't matter. So anyway, that's like, you know, a few examples of pricing. Again, if you go to specialty stores, you would expect definitely to have half of the MSRP, like half of the retail price, not lower than that, unless they really give you like good business. And that's a price that only you and them can see. I mean, the consumer would not see it. Amazon would not see it. No one would see it besides you and the company that you're selling to. It's like, you know, confidential.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's as confidential as much as that, you know, you can sell 3 different retailers, the same product in 3 different prices.
Yeah.
They would just not know about it.
They wouldn't know. So many questions came to my mind, but then I realized that I missed the most important question, which was, how do we get into these places? Which was really probably what I should have started with. But so how does one, let's just say I sell on Amazon and I also sell on my own website, but how do I then, right, and the listeners listening to us, even get into these stores? And not only that, how do I know? Of course, they can go to you. I 100% know that that's one of the answers. Yeah. But how do they even know where to go? What kind of stores can they get into? You said a whole bunch of names of so many different stores that I, as a non-US citizen, someone who doesn't live in Australia, I don't even know, right?
Right.
So how do we, number one, find the right type of stores or specialty stores for our products? And number two, how do we approach them?
You got it. Sharon, you know, I'm trying not to make, not to think or consider myself as, you know, retail expert, because I'm not. I just know a little bit, not more than that. And let me tell you, I tell you for like the truth. I had my own connections and it went good for me. But at some point, like 5, 6 years ago, or maybe even 7, I had the same question that you're asking me now. And I was like, all right, so I'm selling Darien jeans, fine. I'm selling TJ, I'm selling, what was it? Costco in Canada, Costco in the States, maybe in the UK, I just started. But there's like 300 or 400 different retailers matching my product in the States, which I'm not communicating with. So how do I reach out to them? That was the first question. The second question was, why don't I sell to specialty store? I didn't even know what was the term. It took me time to understand that it's specialty stores, but I didn't know the term. But I did know, because I've been visiting the States. My brother lives there for already 2 decades. And I did understand that there was like, you know, out there standalone stores that I could, so I couldn't just take a bag of samples and cross the whole state with the bag and offer them to companies, right? From the other hand, if I go to an exhibition, then I'm going to spend a lot of money, and who knows what's going to happen in that exhibition. And I had exhibitions. I've been showing on Canton Fair as a manufacturer. I guess whomever is listening, and maybe you as well, have been to Canton Fair. Have you been there?
I physically have not yet been in a Canton Fair. Would you believe it?
Yeah, I can believe it. You haven't missed anything. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, I do want to go once the world opens up properly. Definitely want to go, but yeah.
So I presented in Canton for 3 or 4 times, 3 times, I think. And I kind of understood that it doesn't necessarily worth it. Even in a Canton Fair, which is like huge, it's, you know, like in 2006 or 7, I remember there were approximately 1 million visitors, which is like, the numbers today are quite beyond that. But for that time, 1 million visitors would like, no way you won't end up with a lot of business. And you know what? 2 times I ended up with business, and 1 time I ended up with 0, nothing, nada. And I had the same booth, the same products, everything was like, you know, in place. I don't know why. So anyway, I was asking my question about myself, that question. And then I started Googling, like, you know, searching for this, starting from the small, like specialty stores. And then I realized that if you look at Yellow Pages or Yelp.com or TripAdvisor, if you're selling outdoor stuff and everything, you could find stores, go to their website, find the contact and approach them. It's as easy as that. Just approach them. Now, okay, you're going to approach whatever, 20, 30, 100 of them, right? At some point, you would understand how it works. And then you get your VA, hey, I have a job for you. You know, you're not going to spend, you know, all your hours. You have to understand how it works. But once you do, that's it. Move it to the VA. Let him work. Just supervise him. Next, I thought about the same thing about retailers. So obviously, TripAdvisor or Yelp or Google, you wouldn't find anything about retailers, definitely not contacts, right? And then I found my heaven, and my heaven was, I have to say before that back in those days, my wife kept, nudging me, like, buzzing me, like, what about, why don't you open Facebook? And I was like, I don't want to be on Facebook. I don't know what is it. People are like showing all the time what they do. Who cares what you ate yesterday, where you've been tomorrow? Well, I don't know. I couldn't understand what the heck is that. But at the same time, I was using all the time LinkedIn. Now, this is heaven. This is heaven. Now, we are time limited, and I'm, I told you that before we started speaking here. I'm not afraid or whatever about sharing information. As far as I'm concerned, I can share everything because you understand, that there's so much more. Anyway, LinkedIn. The biggest tip I could give you about LinkedIn, and you have to remember that it's like the exposure is crazy. It's not like Facebook, like two friends could see your video from yesterday in the gym. It's like everyone's going to see it. That's, a different algorithm. But the thing with LinkedIn is your connections. That's all that matters, your connections. Why is that? If I have you share on my LinkedIn, then most probably the next suggestions or things that I would look and find would be related to Amazon because you're in the Amazon community and your first, second, and third connections are all Amazon people, right?
Yeah.
But if I have you, Sharon Cohen, let's say, which is very likely to be something like Sharon even, but a bit different, and she's a buyer from Walmart, then once I'm connected to her, all the connections that she has are being exposed to me in again, first, second, and third level. That means that I'm starting, let's say that I'm adding like 100,000 of contacts. It's not a big deal to do it. Really not a big deal. Let's say 100 for the beginning, 100 contacts on LinkedIn, which are from retail space. Everything gets to be open for you. And when they see that you're texting them anything, they would see, in a small window on top of your profile picture, they would see that you are a friend of Ashley and whatever, Brandon, and all the guys that, surrounding them from the retail environment. And they would think like, he's from us. He's okay. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you see, and I apologize if anyone, doesn't like what I'm going to say, but if they see that you are looking like a manufacturer or Asian vibe or something like that, you're out. They're not going to accept you because they know that you want to offer them that. It's like, obviously, if you're a manufacturer, it's like, Amazon, it's like VAs connecting with me. I have tons of requests on Facebook. I don't know who's these people, where they, but the third thing I'm looking at is the name. And the second thing, I'm sorry for saying it. Yeah, I'm not.
Truther.
But the name, the connections, like, are they connected, to Sharon even? Okay, they're confirmed. Not, forget it. Yeah, that's about, like, briefly about getting in touch with those companies, standalone stores or retailers. Now, as for the other question you had, all right, I have the connection, I have the email, or I have the LinkedIn contact. What I do next? I just say, hello, my name is Jeremy and I have lovely product. No, it doesn't work like that. Almost like that. What you need to have as a core, you need to have a catalog and preferably PDF format. That's what people love. I don't know why. I hate PDF, but people love it. Never, ever don't use PowerPoint. People really, don't like opening and messing with PowerPoint. Always PDF. Don't use Word. And definitely not Excel, unless you're, Guangzhou manufacturer and you really have to use the Excel. It's annoying. Yeah, it's like the third thing. Second thing, always name your product. Even if on Amazon, the SKU is like 10 digits or whatever it is, and if it's X, Z, whatever, take a step back, name them. Like if if this glass is supposed to be THV022, then make it golden day. I don't know, whatever, rounded season. Just give it a name. Like when you give it a name, it has personality. On the other side, they get it very, very good in terms of, reviewing products. Make sure you do very good branding. I'm not going to talk about branding. You have enough of branding here.
You
I'm gonna
can.
say one.
If you want to say something, go for it. You're like so many golden nuggets here.
I could talk about branding hours because I'm listening to people talking about branding and I love it. But there's one thing about branding as I see it from, on the retail space. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. In terms of branding, there's only 3 letters you need to know. WOW. That's all you need. You need to wow the other side. If you don't wow them, forget it. Forget it. Because, they're looking at so many products and so many different private labels during every day that what would make them look at your glass and say, hey, I want to see a sample. They've seen a lot of glasses like that before, right? But if this glass in the catalog is being, coming up from different shapes or being, held on a rock near the sea with a beautiful lady like you, Sharon, or just dropping, but branding is all about wowing, and the name of the product makes it different and the colors makes a difference. We all know branding, and I guess, people heard enough, but again, it has to be wow. That's all I want to say about branding.
How important would the packaging be? Because I heard you speak about packaging and I was like, wow, when you said it. How important is the packaging? Because on Amazon, a lot of people like me that branding is important. We put a lot of thought and a lot of time into a color scheme, everything when it comes specifically to our packaging as well. Right. In retail, how important is it?
I will explain briefly about packaging, but before that, just one last thing, because I really want to give as far as I can, good tools to everyone who is listening to this podcast or viewing or whatever. So yeah, catalog and a brief. A brief can be divided to an email brief about your company. You don't want to tell them where have you been living, that you were been living in New Zealand and a rock, fell off the tree. Or so don't tell stories like that. Just tell them, what the company is doing. Make it nice. Make it a little bit unique. 2-3 links to your website, to your PDF, because you don't want to attach anything by email, right? People see attachments. A lot of, like people get spam rules and all this stuff. Anyway, you understand that. And then a short brief, because you're going to use the same thing that you wrote in like 8 to 10 sentences. You're going to have it in one sentence in LinkedIn. So brief and short brief. All right. And the same goes for messages, because right now, it's funny. I don't know how it happened, but in the last year and a half, maybe it's the COVID, maybe not. I'm like texting on WhatsApp with retailers, which is ridiculous. I never thought it's going to happen. So I have, those short stuff also made for that. So LinkedIn, messages, text, WhatsApp, whatever it is, Messenger. As for your question about packaging, if I have to evaluate what's the importance of packaging from 1 to 100, 101. Why? Because the picture, think about the picture that you have on Amazon. You have a picture and the guy out there, guy, girl is like scrolling and seeing a lot of products, and your product is this glass again, but you are showing them, let's pretend that this is a box. So you're showing the box of the glass, and they were like, what's behind the box, gosh? They wouldn't even bother, to enlarge or to stop. But it's like, it's going to be scrolled down. The same very thing happens in physical store. Think about yourself going in like huge Costco store, and you have all these huge pallets, because Costco is working, everything is palletized. So you have pallets by pallets of pallets. And if you see a product and you don't know what's inside the pallet, you just move on. Who cares? I don't understand. Goodbye. So when I look at I just got a samples, the other day from someone I work with. And it's like a very, very nice tool, very special. Nobody has that tool. It's a very unique product. But the only thing on the packaging is the name of, not even the name, the SKU. So if I would walk into the store and I see the SKU, I say, what? Next. I don't understand. I don't care. That's it. I don't see a product. Think about your product sitting in a packaging. Nobody knows what's inside. They have to know from the packaging what is inside. All right. So that's a very important point, because the same products were sent to Von Maur, which is a very good retailer, and to who was it? Dollar Tree, I think, or Dollar General. I don't remember. Both of them told me like, we love the product. It's amazing, but the packaging would not work. Forget it. And I said like, wait a second, what am I missing? And I've seen pictures and I couldn't. I said, listen, can you send me samples, please? I told to the vendor. And once I've seen the samples, I understood exactly that, you know, I just missed it. I should have asked for samples before. But anyway, you understand the point. The point is that the packaging is your Amazon picture, just for the explanation. Like, this is your face. This is the product face. If a person walks next to it and he doesn't understand in like somewhere between 1 to 3 seconds what it is inside, it's gone. I mean, he wouldn't. And obviously, the teams from the retailer, like head office that are buying it, obviously know exactly what, you know, what could sell in terms of packaging. So you have to think about it. Plus, you have to think about your product as, you know, as a real estate. Like, where is it going to be? On the ground, on the shelf, hanged. So if it's hanged, you might, you know, want to go for a J-hook. You know, the J-hook, the small,
Yep.
yeah. And if it's on a shelf, then you want to have maybe something that, you know, is a box that opens, not only with picture outside and everything, but also opens. Why? Because there's a very big trend in packaging, which goes for like already 3 or 4 years, that you don't only use the box that you bought to store your product, but you can also, instead of throwing it to the garbage at some point, you can use it like as a jewelry box or whatever, you know, something like with utility. And then when a customer buys it, then he's not only buying a product, but he's also buying another product in the packaging, which is a great idea.
I'm smiling because I speak, I haven't spoken about it on this podcast, but I have a product research and sourcing course. And in that course, I speak a lot about how important your packaging is. And one of the differentiation points that I speak about is, you know, an option, not right for every product, but an option where your box isn't just for storage, but can also be used for something else. And also,
Right.
as you're speaking, I was thinking of someone that I had been working with recently. She's come up with a genius product, like a really, really smart product. I actually will tell you after we finish about the product, because you may be able to work with her. And it's a very cheap product to make. And for part of her proof of concept, I told her, she lives in Canada, and I said to her, physically go to all sorts of different pharmacies, because it's a product that would fit in a pharmacy, and speak to the people there and ask them if they would buy this product. And some of the people at the pharmacy asked if they could keep some units because they fell in love with the product. Now, then I said to her, look, you're going to have to make 2 different types of packaging. One that fits for Amazon, and one, this is a product that would need to have a hang tag. But having a hand tag on Amazon wouldn't make sense, because Amazon will count that little part at the top, and it could put up the price, or put it up the tier. So, for example, the product isn't even being made yet, but we have got proof of concept. And we did look at the fact that there's going to be one type of packaging for Amazon and one type of packaging for retail, because we're optimizing the right packaging for the right place that it's going to be sold in. And part of the reason why I ask you, you know, obviously, how do we find the contacts, is because this client specifically is in Canada, and, you know, it was an option. So she did it. She went physically, spoke to all sorts of different, you know, pharmacies, and got feedback, which I think doing that even with, you know, specialty stores and things like that for proof of concept is also an option. But I didn't actually expect for you to say LinkedIn, you know, for the retailers, because I should have thought about it. It's obviously like a no-brainer, but I didn't even think about it. So right. I love that there's been so much information here that even I'm feeling overwhelmed, because I have all these questions, but I have this whole other subject that I want you to speak about. So I'm now thinking of maybe I need to bring you back to speak about it, because I have too many about one important question that 2 important questions that came up while you were speaking, because I actually don't know the answer to it. When it comes to working with a retailer, I'm thinking about cash flow in mind, because one of the things that, you know, as brand builders, people that sell physical products, sellers, whatever you want to call us, cash flow is an issue for many, many people. So just quick question would be also, when you're working with a retailer, when it comes to, because you said, I can't remember what, maybe it was TJ's, can't remember what company said, you said that they even take care of the logistics, or that's the option they gave. So when you they put in a purchase order with you, is it most of the time DDP, meaning you need to pay for the shipping? Do they pay for the shipping? How does that work, the logistics side of it?
So when you start from scratch and you start with quotation, it's going to be FOB. Now they don't consider FOB as we do, like FOB St. John, but they understand that FOB means warehouse, either East West Coast. There's no DDP offering at that stage. Once they are, confirming and everything, and you do the vendor setup and you get into the system, and everything, then it differs again from retailer to retailer. Most cases, on top of the price, they would add the freight, whether you're shipping it to them or they are picking it up. If they pick it up, which is the best way to work, then fine. Like as I said, let's say Anthropology, which I believe they are part of Urban Outfitter and Free People as well, and they have also branches, not only in the UK and USA but across the world. So what they do is they give you access to a system they have, and you just right there, like how many boxes, how many this, how many that, weight and everything, and boom, that's it. It creates like a message to their forwarder. The forwarder gets to your 3PL to to do all the organizations and to pick it up and schedule and everything. And all you do is just send them ASN, like acknowledge shipment notice. That's it. With other retailers, it might be more complicated. Like if you want to ship to Macy's, then you have to go to university and have like 5 years sitting there on your ass and learning how it works with them, because it's like literally, the vendor manual for Macy's is amazing. It's like 76 pages, while each and every page contains links to other sub-vendor manuals that are each and every one 20, 30 pages. So you end up reading a freaking book of like 500-600 pages just to ship, an order, even if it's a test order. So you would ask me, hey, does it worth it? I would say there's always, there's always a better way to do it. So what I found is that for people who starts to work with Macy's on the offline, not the online is much easier, but on the offline, on the online, they just work with Commerce Hub, which is EDI system, very easy to, operate, just cost money. But on the offline, I found that there is a bunch, which I didn't knew about, a bunch of EDI suppliers, like EDI, we'll talk about it next time, but it's like integrating with their system. Long story short, if you want to get an invoice or PO, purchase order, you're going to get it through the EDI, not by email. It doesn't work by email. It's replacing the fax. Yeah. So anyway, there's like companies that doing all these things for you seamless. Like you just send them your vendor information that you receive from Macy's or Bloomingdale or all the others that under the same title, and that's it. You're in. They do everything. It takes them 3-4 days. You pay them like $60-$70. Boom, you're in. Forget it. Next, when you're gonna get like bigger orders, yeah, you want to set up everything on macysnet.com, which is their system, not macys.com, but macysnet.com. Anyway, what was the question? I ran away.
No, you answered it in the beginning. So a second question I have, which is an important question, I think, and also a question that I get asked all the time. Compliance. Okay. Oh. So we have a lot of Amazon sellers, which a lot of Amazon sellers are people, before I sold on Amazon, I was in product development like my entire adult life. I also come from a household where, my father had a jewelry factory, and I've been in this world for a long time. And then when you come into Amazon, right? Amazon has their own compliance, but then there's actually compliance when it comes to the country that you sell in. And then I know that different wholesalers will have different compliance, that they requirements for products. So how does one know what is the right compliance needed to get into a specific retailer? I'm guessing specialty stores are more easygoing.
Specialty store is very easygoing. They don't expect you to do anything besides what you already have, whatever it is, CE, not CE, UL, Rose, Prop 65, and all those. But the thing is, like, I know about, for instance, a very good friend of mine that had issue with his product on Amazon, and they claimed that he needed UL, and they just removed his listing, and he was selling there like crazy. And he was like fighting all over the place for more than a year. He used the attorney that we both know. We all know her, lovely Kabili. And nothing helped, just nothing helped. They insisted on UL. And I kept on telling him, listen, it doesn't make sense because UL is like a permission standard. It's not obligation. It cannot be obligation because they're having like, you know, such a high-end laboratories. Anyways, somehow the guy one day read like a magazine that he's reading all the time in English, and there was an article about his kind of products and about UL, and he found like sentences saying from UL that it's not even possible to execute an UL test for that product. And he sent that magazine to Amazon, and that was the point where they released his listing.
Wow.
And I had something similar. I mean, I had crazy orders coming from Anthropology like 4 years ago. And I was shipping like power banks with UL on them because I had UL. And one of the shipment got stuck. And then all of a sudden I'm getting from my forwarder a message forwarded to him from UPS saying, hey, you need to show us the UL. So I said, fine, no problem. I'll send you the UL. I send him the UL. He gets back to me the next day saying, Taylor, are you insane or what? I said, why? What happened? He said, this is expired half year ago. Oh my God. I got back to my factory. I said, guys, you are in charge of that. We are working with this product for like, what, 3 years? Why didn't you renew it? Oh, we forgot. Oh my God. So I have, what was it? 6 or 12,000 pieces. I don't remember. I think it was 6. I don't know. Anyway, big amount of pieces sitting in a bond in LA, which I cannot do anything with because it's marked with UL on the packaging. I go back to Anthropology. I said, guys, I cannot do it with the UL. She said, why? You did it all the time. I said, yeah, but it's expired and we didn't renew it. And here it is. We have it, you know, inside. We're going to have the UL renewed, but it's going to take time. What are we going to do? She said, you come up with a solution and that's it. We can push the delivery date maximum 3 weeks. So I said, fine, I'm coming back with the solution to you, but I'm letting you know that it's not going to be UL. They said, you know that UL is not compulsory. I said, right, thank you very much. Goodbye. I go back to my factory. I tell them, guys, in no time, produce for me the same packaging without the UL. All right. Then I go back to Ernie, magician guy that used to work. He retired. Used to work in very strong logistic company. Saying, Ernie, I need you to get with guys, Mexican, whatever it is, into the bond, the free zone, change the packaging to the packaging that I'm sending you, and let it be released with UPS. Fine, mate, no problem. That was the answer. Fine, mate, no problem. That's how he talks. And that's what we did. That was the only way to do it. Long story short, in terms of standards and compliance, first of all, you're going to get everything written in their vendor manual. So you're going to be clear with everything. Number two, their standard requirements is not different from the law requirements. If the law requires you to have whatever standard it is for your product, then they would align with it. They would not ask for further. If they ask for further, they would communicate with you if it's possible or not, like I did with Anthropology in the UL. But like companies that are more sophisticated on that point are companies like Kate Spade, if you ever heard of. Kate Spade is quite a big organization. They have also Jack Spade. She passed away last year, the owner, but they are quite big. They have stores in the States, all over Europe, and sometimes some places in Asia, and they are asking a lot of different compliance because they ship to different places. They ship even to Japan. So they need, compliance. But when you do those compliance, you just do it with a lab in China, with the retailer. They do, the whole process with you. So it's not a big deal. One thing I did notice that vendors are not aware of in the States, that as long as you're selling every product in California, which you always do because you don't know where Amazon is shipping, right? You have to have Prop 65, sorry. Proposition 65 is a law in California that actually refers to the material that your products are made of. And it started back in 65, and since then it's a law. The only reason it exists is because until the point that they created that law, people used to produce from like bad materials, bad minerals and stuff like that. So California wants to prevent that. And it's Prop 65 for the majority of the products cost between $15 to $75. So you wouldn't waste, your time just to do it, not to do it.
So compliance, so the answer basically is that they would come back to you and tell you.
You're going to see it in the vendor manual, and it's not different from the market.
What actually would be the actual law. And many people have a lot of difficulty with understanding what it is that they actually need. I have used for anyone, I actually had the founder of Compliance Gate on here a couple of weeks ago. Frederick is his name. And Compliance Gate is a great place to get resources. But there's many different people that actually are compliance agents. Even Yael Kabili offers compliance. So do you have
can I give you a shortcut?
Looks like you have a tip there. Yes, please do.
cbp.gov. If you don't remember that, just click on Google Customs USA. You get to that website, you have a bunch of information. If you don't find your product there, you can find a phone number. It's going to take a while to get, through the right division and everything, but you can talk with them. You can send them email explaining your product, giving them HS code, and they would get back to you saying, this is what compulsory, this is what is not. That's it. Very easy.
In my experience, because from my experience, sometimes you may need a certificate to pass customs and another certificate that customs doesn't require, but you still need it, in order to sell that product.
That is correct. But most cases, let's take, for instance, electric item. The majority of electrical items only needs, again, Prop 65 for California and FCC. Now, I spoke with FCC themselves because I shipped the product, and after shipping it, I realized that the laboratory is gonna give me the official FCC standard file somewhere around the same date that the goods are landing in the States. They told me on FCC, listen, mate, it's gonna be released for custom even if it doesn't have the FCC. We are taking responsibility, and afterwards we're working with you to get the FCC from you. As long as you promise us, there's files to fill and everything, but promise us that you're going to have that done. And that's all you need for electric items. Whomever comes up and says, you need a UL, that's not true. I've checked it for billions of times. UL is permission. So that's for electric items. For most of the other items, it would be easier as long as you're not talking about FDA approvals for cosmetics or food or stuff like that. That's obviously a different issue. A lot more is involved. But again, if you wanted to get an FDA approval for something, you wouldn't try to do it on 2020, right? Because everybody was with the COVID items and everything. But things are back to normal right now. FDA, CDC, all those organizations are working quite normally. But yeah,
But compliance is something that obviously is very important when you're working with retailers, right? Because
Correct.
You get away with certain things sometimes on Amazon. To date, there's many people that get away without doing all sorts of tests that they should be doing because Amazon hasn't asked for it. Whether that will change or not is, we don't know yet. But when it comes to working with big retailers, I take it it's a totally different story.
Right. Yes. Standards is not something that you would spend so much time thinking of because, if you Google it, I don't remember the names, but there are 2 or 3 different big labs in Hong Kong that have branches in China. And as long as you send them a sample and telling them I need this and that, that's it, you're done. Or what I did, what was the name? Trying to think about that lab name. Maybe it will come up later. Anyway, I told them, guys, I have this product. I'm shipping it to USA. I don't know what standards I need. I did know, but I wanted to hear from them.
Yes.
They came back to me with a very nice file saying, if you're sending it to USA, that's what you need. If you're sending here, what's it? It cost me nothing. It's part of the service.
Mm-hmm.
What was the name?
EGS maybe? No.
No. No.
I'm trying to think if there's another one. I can't remember the name. It'll come to me soon. But okay,
right
but no, I get what you're saying. So in general, you should know what the compliance should be, but there are people that don't necessarily. What I was trying to also understand is, do different retailers, but you answered the question. It's the fact that most retailers will go with whatever the law
By
is.
the law, exactly.
Yeah, which laws are different in different countries as well. Obviously, America and Europe could have different standards. So anyone listening to us, it depends also on the country.
Right. I'm referring only to the USA, and that's what I did with Kate Spade. Every time they came up with other standards, they had a division handling that. I told them, you tell me where to send the samples. It's your labs. I send the samples. We bargain about who's going to pay the standard. I said, as long as you're doing like this and that quantity, I'm paying it. If you don't do that quantity, I'm not paying it. That's it. I mean, for Japan, I never paid for the standard they need because Japan was small quantities at least for Kate Spade. So, but yeah, it depends.
Okay, now I have to go in 15 minutes to pick up my son, and we have a whole thing that I really want us to speak about, which is subscription boxes. Do you think that 15 minutes is enough time, or do we need another whole podcast for it?
You know my answer, right?
We need another whole podcast for it? Okay.
Yeah,
so we didn't get to talk about the subscription boxes today because in itself, retail, and there's so much more stuff that can also be told about retail as well. But in itself, retail is a huge subject. So I'll bring you back. I'll see when you're available sometime this month, because subscription boxes were something. When you said to me that we should talk about it originally, I was like, it's not a big thing. And I heard you speak about it somewhere else. I was like, oh my God, everyone needs to know this. So suspense for people. And I'll bring you back on. We'll speak about subscription boxes next time. And for retail, what I really hope that a lot of people understood from this is that Amazon is just like one tiny thing when it comes to retail. There's a whole other world out there where you can get your products into physical stores. And is there anything else that you want to add on to that, Talor, before we start wrapping it up?
Just do it.
Okay, well, it sounds easy, but it's not. So for those people that don't want to do it on their own and they actually would like someone like you, and you said you're not an expert like a million times, but this is probably the podcast that I spoke the least on because I was just listening to you because it was just so much information. So I think you definitely are an expert, and you just shared so much. So I'm so thankful for that. And if anyone here wants to get in touch with you to have consultation, whatever it is that you offer, how can they find you?
Well, definitely they can either go to my website, retail-empire.com, or just, add me on Facebook, TALOROFER, Talor Offer. That's my name. And, very easy, very fluent. On my website, retail-empire.com, retail-empire.com. There are links to my WhatsApp, my LinkedIn, my Telegram, everything, whatever is comfortable. So yeah, feel free.
Awesome. I'll make sure to also, anyone that's listening to us live, I'll make sure to put a link to that as well. So retail-empire.com.
That's correct.
You also, do you have a Facebook group as well in English?
Yes, I have Retail Empire Group. Yeah, that's my group.
Retail Empire. Okay, so Facebook group, Retail Empire. Great. Thank you so much for coming on. This was just so much amazing information. It has like blown me away, made me think about my products, about my clients' products. I've just got so much to talk to you off camera. So thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Sharon. I love your energy. It's so great to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Really great. And I'm sorry for everyone that we didn't get to speak about subscription boxes, but we'll have a whole other podcast for that. I remind everyone that Isabella will be back on Monday, and Danny will be back on Tuesday. And of course, I'll be back next Thursday. And if anyone wants to get a hold of me, you can find me on Facebook or on my website, Sharon Evan, or on YouTube. Thank you very much. And I'll see you all next week. Thank you, Talor.
Thank you, Sharon. Bye.